Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity Orlando. Our opening statement this morning is, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Let's all affirm that together. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. All right, let's all close our eyes, take a nice deep breath in. Let's affirm that together in the silence. And so it is. And now if you'd all like to stand and help us sing our joy song this morning, it's called Lightworkers Greeting Song. Before we were born, we chose a life to live. What if before we've shared, we chose a life to give away a truth today, and hear the angels say, we all let love lead the way. We all let love lead the way. We all let love lead the way. What if before we could breathe, we chose to speak of love? What if before we could sing, we chose to be one of all the voices of an angel's choir, singing wisdom and our heart's desire, speaking absolute truth and love. Speak of absolute truth and love. Speak of absolute truth and love. What if we were God's love, living in God's love? What if the Christ in me has set my spirit free? Then I realize what I've hoped is true. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. The Christ in me beholds the Christ in you. All right, thank you very much. You may be seated.
Good morning, Unity Orlando. How's everybody doing today? Great to see your beautiful faces on this kind of sunny morning. I'm Susan Francis. I'm your platform speaker. Welcome online as well. Just a few announcements. Do we have any visitors? I don't think so. I think we have seen your beautiful faces before. Let's see. Prayer chaplains are available to pray with you after service. In the house today, myself and Paul are here. If you need prayer, see one of us after service. Also, we pray every evening at 8 p.m. So set your alarm and just hold whatever you'd like in prayer. The January affirmation is, God is with me and all is well. That's beautiful. Also, next week is our annual meeting and potluck, Sunday after the 11 o'clock service. Please join us. We're going to have a little meeting, and then we're going to share some great food. So bring a dish to share as well. Let's see, one more announcement. The Soul Group is going to resume today, this week on Friday at 11:30, after the 11:30. I'm so sorry. Hello, Susan. Let's wake up here. This Friday at 11:30 is the Soul Group meeting, and Elaine Person will be being the presentation. She's going to be sharing information about writing, so that'll be great if you're interested. Also, Reverend Bob's lesson today is take no offense. But before I turn it over to Brian, I have a little story to tell you. So there was a lady who goes to her priest one day, and she tells him, "Father, I have a problem. I have 2 female parrots, but they only know how to say one thing." "What do they say?" the priest inquired. He said, "They say, 'Hi, we're hookers. Do you want to have some fun?'" "That's obscene," the priest exclaimed. Then he thought for a moment. He said, "You know, I may have a solution to your problem. I have 2 male talking parrots, which I taught to pray and read the Bible. Bring your 2 parrots over to my house, and then we'll put them in a cage with Francis and Job. Those are his parrots. And my parrots can teach your parents to praise and worship, and your parrots are sure to stop saying that phrase in no time." "Thank you," the woman responded. "This may very well be the solution." The next day, she brought her female parrots to the priest's house. As he ushered her in, she saw that the 2 male parrots were inside their cage holding rosary beads and praying. Impressed, she walked over and placed her parrots in with them. After a few minutes, the parrots cried out in unison, "Hi, we're hookers. Do you want to have some fun?" There was stunned silence. Shocked, one male parrot looked at the other parrot and exclaimed, "Put the beads away, Frank. Our prayers have been answered."
Oh my God.
That's my parrot story for the day. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Brian.
All right, good. I will try not to be offended by that. Well, since I heard that topic, I thought, well, what a better song to do but this song here called Living with Purpose. When you're living with purpose, it's kind of hard to be offended. Mm-hmm. Last week, someone asked me what was my purpose. Gently, I spoke almost in a whisper. I don't know, here it goes. Somewhere deep inside my inquiring mind, feel a miracle lighting my desire from a flash to a flame, igniting again. I'm living on purpose to the best that I can. I'm living with purpose, shining light from heaven, light from heaven. So now when anyone ever asks me what's reality, I shine light on everyone that I see, a light you can be, spreading light in the world is purpose enough. world in one symphony in harmony. I'm living on purpose to the best that I can. I'm living with purpose, shining light from heaven. I'm living on purpose to the best that I can. I'm living with purpose, shining light from heaven. Light from heaven. Glorious. 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 I'm living on purpose to the best that I can. I'm living with purpose, shining light from heaven. I'm living on purpose to the best that I can. I'm living with purpose, shining light from heaven. Light from heaven. Glorious. Glorious. Glorious.
That was wonderful. Yeah, that'll get us going on this service. How is everyone doing today? You doing wonderful out there? How are you doing at home? Are you doing great? Good. I heard you. I don't know. It's a rainy morning, but boy, it felt special. It felt really wonderful on the drive in. It's beautiful. And I understand if you go a little further north, you'll agree at how beautiful it is. Okay. I'm going to do another hard one today. Today I'm going to do one of the more difficult aspects of Jesus' teaching. Called Take No Offense is the title. It's an area that almost all Christians as a whole fail at. It's the part of Jesus' teaching that we kind of like to ignore. It's non-resistance and withholding judgment. Kind of intriguing that this is one of the core tenets of Jesus' teaching, when Christianity has earned its reputation as possibly one of the most judgmental organizations in the world. And maybe we need to get back on track. In Matthew 5:39 and 41, you should not resist evil, but whoever strikes you on your right cheek, turn to him the other, and who compels you to carry a burden for a mile, go with him too. Non-resistance. Part of the reason this teaching is so hard is because it is counterintuitive. He's asking you to act more like a soul and to follow your human instincts a little less. Carries it on in Matthew 7, 1, 3, and 5. Judge not, that ye may not be judged. Well, this was just plain clear. Judge not, that ye may not be judged. Why do you see the splinter which is in your brother's eye, and not feel the beam which is in your own eye? First, take out the beam from your own eye. Don't judge others, work on yourself. That's not the way human beings do it. We try to force everybody else to be like we think everyone should be, and particularly the way we think they ought to be. Instead, he's saying, work on yourself. When you face difficulty and injustice and difficult situations, do not hold a harsh judgment. And then turn around and work on yourself. What can I do where I am? Now, a lot of people want to say, this stuff doesn't work today. They said, this is a different world. That approach just plain wouldn't work today. There's so much injustice going on around us. And may I remind you, Jesus taught this in the midst of Roman occupation. So don't tell me about how we have more injustice today than they had then. And he said the way you handle an unjust and a difficult world is to refrain from judgment, to accept and harmonize. He said, meet seeming injustice with non-resistance rather than with anger and judgment. I got to tell you, a human being wants to get angry. It wants to believe that, hey, this isn't right, so I'm upset. I am angry. And that isn't what Jesus taught. You can do it, but don't blame it on Jesus. Basically, when meeting seeming injustice, we need to work on ourselves. Doesn't sound quite right, but that's what he taught. And if you're a soul, that's the way you handle it. We need to work on ourselves while trusting God to bring good out of seeming evil. That's how you use non-resistance. And in this amazingly divided society that we presently live in, declaring that the other half is bad is deserting Jesus' teaching. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't do something to change things. You most certainly can. But you can't do it with anger and harsh judgment. And I'm going to make one more statement that just comes from having watched the world around me. And certainly do not hide harsh judgment behind the sanctimonious words, I'll pray for you. If you're going to pray for them, pray for them. Don't throw that phrase out as a barb, implying that they're evil and they'll finally figure it out. Jesus told us to take the beam out of our own eye. Let God worry about taking care of them. God will take care of it. I bring this one up because at one point, do you know when people were doing self-analysis, one of the things these workshops would do is they say, call everyone up and forgive them that you still have, that you have issues with. Somehow I think that got twisted around. You probably, if you want to do that, call everyone up and ask for forgiveness. You don't have to talk to them to forgive them. But I remember the day I got a nice phone call from someone far away that I just barely knew, but she felt that I had wronged her in some way in some words that I had said somewhere along the way. To this day, I'll stand by what I said. But in any case, she called up and said, I just want you to know I forgive you. You don't want to forgive me. You want to take one more shot at me. So I know that you think I need to be forgiven. Okay. If you're going to pray for someone, pray for them. And if it's a positive thing, you can tell them you're praying for them. But when my neighbor said, Patty's decorating for Halloween, we'll pray for her. I knew we were dealing with a different version of Christianity than I understood. So, what I want to do today is go over a number of aspects. We can call them steps if you like, but aspects of this approach to life that says, take no offense. Take no offense. Over the years, I have quoted my friend back from ministerial school who stated very bluntly, to take offense is as bad as to give offense. Now, it never sounded good coming from him because he loved to give offense. But it was true nonetheless. To take offense is definitely as bad as to give offense. They're two sides of the same coin. So, take no offense. Here's how we go. Number one, the path of non-resistance takes real strength. We are not talking about becoming a doormat. Not that at all. But Jesus' teaching is not for wimps. I have said that over and over, and too many people think it's the easy, loving path. It does involve love, but love is really hard when you're surrounded by injustice. Okay? So it's a very hard path to take. What is the path of non-resistance? Well, it's accept where you are and harmonize. That takes real strength to be able to do that. Our human self wants to resist and struggle with evil on evil's level. We want to go into the mud wrestle for a while. He's saying, don't do it. If you can change it, I have always said, if you have a choice, choose. If you don't, accept. We often find ourselves in a place we are terribly frustrated by and feel we have no choice. Then accept where you are rather than get angry about it. And harmonize with where you are as best you can. That's what a soul would do. Not necessarily what a human personality would do. So, the admonition here is accept where you are and make the most of it. Accept and expect goodness to surface. It may take a while. I mean, remember the story of Joseph in Egypt? He was really good at this. He sold into slavery. Didn't have much choice, so he was the best slave he could be. And, of course, that being good led to his downfall, and he ends up in prison. So he's the best prisoner he could be. Wherever he went, he did the best to harmonize with what he had and do the best that he could where he was. Now, ultimately, he ended up the second most powerful man in Egypt, the most powerful country in the world at that time. Wow. And when his brothers showed up, who had sold him into slavery, his final words were, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Good can come out of evil. So, instead of taking offense to what is going down, if there is no choice and you can't move to somewhere else, because you're allowed to choose if you can choose, then accept and harmonize. That's non-resistance. Now, one of the aspects of non-resistance is to realize that if you take no offense, you are not wounded. If you imagine someone is shooting arrows at you, their words, their statements, what they're doing is like, if you're non-resistant, the arrows fly right through with no damage. There's no damage unless you take offense. If you take offense, you're hurt. If you don't take offense, you're not hurt. Nothing happened. I mean, something happened, but you were not damaged. So, take no offense, do not be wounded, and do not create an enemy immediately. You shot an arrow at me. Okay, now we're going to go at it. Okay, well, you didn't approve of what I said. Okay. But if instead you take no offense, you find it's a whole lot easier to create change with a friend than it is with an enemy. And if you have not immediately declared them an enemy, even if they seem to think you are, you aren't living there. And it's a whole lot easier to get things back on track. And one step further, harmony. Remember, accept and harmonize. Harmony opens the doors to new possibilities. It always does. We often participate in this phenomenal battle for control. And over the weeks, I've tried to tell you, it's an illusion. You have no control. I know you think you do. But ultimately, you're fighting for something that isn't there. The power of non-resistance and how to use it in outer life is illustrated in what I call the law of consciousness. And it basically goes, if a man is being discordant, hold the high ground. Why? Because it's uncomfortable for two people to be in the same room in two different states of consciousness. So if they're angry and you are calm and refuse to be angry, On the negative side, you've actually irritated them more than anything else you could have done. You didn't get angry. But basically what happens when two people are in two different states of consciousness and they are forced to be together, either the one who's at the high level, the other will come up, or the one at the high level will go down. They have to go to the same level. If you refuse to get angry, they eventually have to calm down and work things out with you, or take their leave, walk out of the room. They'll do one or the other. That's the law of consciousness. And that is taking no offense. It is non-resistance. I'm accepting where I am, but I'm harmonizing it. I am not being willing to go into anger and judgment. The second aspect is probably just what I was talking about. Judge not. I'm not sure how Christians have missed this. This is a real simple statement. It's real direct, and it's one of the core values of the path. Judge not. This is where the vast majority of Christians fail. We read that, turn the other cheek, and we go, I'm sure he didn't mean that, and I'm leaving. Let it be. So often, we're in that state of, I'm right and you are wrong. At one point, I had thought, I need to write a book on the title would be, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I never wrote it. So 5 years after I came up with this idea, someone else had, and you could buy it. These ideas float around out there, right? And whoever's receptive will pick them up. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I suggest be happy. You don't need to prove you're right. I'm right, they are wrong. The Bible tells me this, and therefore I'm right. Okay, it came through your understanding or somebody else equally human who calls himself a minister. I can say that. I'm a minister. Don't try so hard to be right. Just remember, judge not. Can you withhold judgment? I'm not saying you say they're right. I'm saying, can you withhold judgment? Can you step away from the anger, the blame, and the fear? Just step away from it while facing the difficulty, the injustice, whatever it is that just riles you up so much. Can you step away from the anger and the blame? It's your fault. Okay. We don't need that. It's not going to get you anywhere. Just deal with where you are and do your best. That's the path. Deal with where you are and do your best. Years ago, I had this realization, and it was a biggie for me because all my life growing up, when my parents would fight, I knew that if you just sat them down in a room with me, I could set everything straight in 10 minutes. I could tell them, you're right. I could put everything the way it was supposed to be. Now, I never got that opportunity. And I'm betting life will never give you that opportunity. So, here I was seething over something that had happened. And what could I do? Just give them to me for 5 minutes and I'll set them straight. And the words just came to me. God is the teacher, I am not. It's not my job description. I'm not out here to set everybody else straight. That's God's job. I'm out here to set me straight. That's my job. And other people, other situations, turn them over to God. That's the way you handle it. You turn them over to God. In a society that's convinced that the other 50% of the people in this country are idiots, and that's the nicest term I can come up with. Step away from the anger, the blame, and the fear, and put it in God's hands. Not my job. My job is to take care of me. Now, I need to take one more step into the judgment thing, because in John 7:24, this is the third aspect. Do not judge by appearances, but judge righteous judgment. Please get it straight. This is not the grand loophole that allows you to go negative. That's how everybody wants. Well, the Bible tells me so, so I can judge you so. No, that's not righteous judgment. I like to equate the word righteous to goodness. Righteous is goodness. That's what it means, goodness. So do not judge by appearances is the first half. Let's get it straight. You may not see clearly. You can be absolutely sure of yourself and not see it as clearly as you think. In the early days, I'm sure Joseph was absolutely convinced that being a slave and then a prisoner was a really bad thing. But he trusted God throughout it all. And he ended up on top. The way you see things, the appearance, may be wrong. Maybe you see it clearly, but rarely do we see anything in this earth entirely clearly. We're not omniscient. There are things we do not know and cannot see. So, what's it mean to judge righteous judgment? Well, don't judge harshly and say, you're all wrong, you're a mess, this is going to kill society. Maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe it won't. You don't know that. Do not judge by appearances, but judge righteous judgment. Look around you and judge what is good in your world right now. Judge the goodness that surrounds you. When everything's going wrong, there's still bound to be some goodness. Goodness judgment. Judge the goodness, and you judge how I can support that goodness. You see, judgment is first and foremost to be used on ourselves. Take the beam out of your own eye. Wasn't that the way it went? You don't think there's one in there. You think you see so clearly that you can tell everybody else what they're doing wrong. Look in yourself and take the beam out of your own eye. Look at yourself and determine how you can serve goodness where you find yourself right now, rather than just be angry over where you find yourself right now. Figure out how you can serve goodness. So, appearances can be deceiving, so put it in God's hands and know the spiritual truth. You put it in God's hands and you know God's in charge. Doesn't look like that. But that's the truth that you can't see right now. So put it in God's hands and know the spiritual truth. Now, you say, then I can never defend myself. No, do whatever life requires from you at the moment. If life says run, run. If life says defend yourself, defend yourself. But you have to do it without anger and without fear. And you have to recognize that no matter what's going on, God is in charge, and a higher reality can prevail. Recognize that you may not see clearly, and good can come out of seeming evil. We put seeming in front of all the negatives. Seeming evil. Maybe even seeming death, because it most certainly is seeming. Death is released to the higher realms. It's escape. You just got out of your prison cell. But that isn't the way we see it. So, as many times as it requires when facing difficulty or injustice, the type of thing that makes you seethe inside, put it in God's hands. Just keep putting it in God's hands. I'm betting one time won't do it. It'll come back and you'll have to put it in God's hands again. And each day expect good to surface in some unexpected way. After all, you're in a place you wouldn't have chosen to be. So you're already in an unexpected place. Your good's going to come from an unexpected. It's going to rise unexpectedly. So you look for that. The fourth aspect. What you think on grows in your life. That's a pretty simple one. We all agree. We love to apply it when we're trying to bring good things into our lives. But we don't realize that it's true whether it's positive or it's negative. It works both ways. So don't dwell on the injustice or the wrongness that you think you see, or it'll grow. I mean, in an age when your newsfeed tells you how terrible everything is around you, dwelling on how terrible it is only makes it more terrible. It makes it grow. It's not helping. It's literally counterproductive. So turn away from dwelling on how terrible it is and dwell on what goodness you can find. Remember, it's in the midst of Roman occupation that Christianity was taught. And Paul said in Philippians 4:8, whatever is true, honest, just, pure, lovely, of good report, if there is any virtue, if there is any praise, think about these things. You want to dwell on something? He just told you how. Dwell on righteous judgment. Dwell on righteousness, goodness. And this is what we need to remember. Dwell on the goodness when our world almost demands harsh judgment from us. Step back. Step away from the judgment. Step away from the anger and the fear. And concentrate on righteousness, goodness in your world. The fifth aspect of this is that in a world in which we think force is the way to go, that's not what Jesus taught. He didn't teach you litigate ethics. He didn't teach that you can force people to live the way you want to live. Instead, he said, lead by example. You cannot force the world to your standards, but you can demonstrate goodness in your life so others wish to be like you, which how he said it would grow. This is how Jesus taught to change the world. Matthew 5:16, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So, that's why we want to take the beam out of your own eye. Work on your life rather than correcting others. Live in that bubble of goodness that you're going to create. Create a bubble of goodness with your life. You say, but they're doing all of this around me, and I'm going to quote Jesus again. What is that to thee? Follow thou me. Doesn't matter what they're doing around you. Create a bubble of goodness. And live in that bubble of goodness in order to inspire others to follow suit, rather than allow yourself to be dragged into the mud and struggle, and into the struggle that trying to force each other to be something involves, and it never works. So lead by example. You say, I want the world to be a better place. Then you live a better life and demonstrate it so that others around you will see your light and glorify your Father in heaven. Will see what you have done and say, you know, I want to be more like that. The sixth aspect is pretty simple. Embrace kindness as a way of life, in spite of what everyone else is doing. Live by kindness. Jesus told the story of the Good Samaritan. And in the end, the Samaritan, the priest and the Levi both come by, and they don't want to deal with it. So they leave the guy on the side of the road all beaten up and in a mess, and the Samaritan comes by. Now, you have to have been in this culture to understand the implications of what's going on. Samaritans were looked down upon. They were mixed blood. They weren't good Jews as far as the good Jews were concerned. But it's the Samaritan who came along and said, this guy's hurt. I'm going to take care of it. And in the end, Jesus is asking everyone to be a good neighbor. But there's a little aspect I want you to grab. And that is the man that the Samaritan helped. Were the roles reversed, may not have helped him. He was a good Jew. He might have just passed this guy of mixed blood on the side and said, not my problem. But the Samaritan, he knew his job was to be kind. He lived by kindness. So he did it, whether anybody would have done it back to him or not. That neighbor I mentioned earlier, he's actually a really nice guy. Very committed to his church. But I do believe he attends a church that has no problems with judging others harshly. There's quite a few of them around, aren't there? But Jim and I Well, we have this running game to see who can bring the other's trash can in. Who can get out there first and not only bring in my trash can, but his? Take his in too while I'm at it. And he takes in mine. And we try to see which one can be the kinder. And all of this in spite of the fact that I believe he has serious concerns about my approach to Christianity. Demonstrating kindness is the best way to bridge any gap with others. Well, leaves us at my final aspect, which reads, "You are a spiritual being, act like it." I have to say that to myself all the time. You're a spiritual being, act like it. In 1 John 4:4, this is one of the letters of John. John writes, "You are of God, and he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world." Put things in perspective. We live in an outer world filled with difficulties and injustice without a doubt. But you're a soul. You were before you came into this world. You will be long after you leave it. And what's going on here is not nearly as consequential as you might think. This injustice that we have to put up with, this difficulty we have to face, is temporary. And we can endure whatever happens here because we know we are so much more than this. I am much more than this human self. I don't need to be trapped by my humanness. So whatever happens in this world that we live in, act like a spiritual being and shine your light in the darkness. Ultimately, that's why you came here. So let me recap the steps real quick. Number one, when facing challenges of a world gone awry, use non-resistance. Accept where you are and make the most of it. Accept what you must face and harmonize with it. 2, judge not. Step away from the anger, the blame, and the fear, and withhold harsh judgment of those around you while turning it all over to God. Number 3, do not judge by appearances. Realize you may not see things clearly, but God is still in charge. Judge what goodness you can find in the world around you, then center your judgment on yourself and how you can do a better job in this life. Number 4, realize what I think on grows in my life. So refuse to obsess on the injustices that seem to be expressed in our world. Instead, obsess on all that is good and beautiful in your world. Step 5, lead by example. Create a bubble of goodness with your life so that others may be inspired to follow suit. And 6, embrace kindness, because kindness cuts across all the boundaries between people. And finally, put things in perspective. Remember, you are a spiritual being, not just this temporary human being. And then act like a spiritual being by letting your light shine in the darkness. Let's close our eyes and go within. Take a deep breath and sigh it out. As we let go and turn within, realize I live and move and have my being within a sea of God life. Everything in my life is happening within a sea of God's presence. Even the stuff that doesn't look so nice, it's all here within a sea of God's presence. So as you bring up in your mind the injustices that you see in the world right now, turn each one over to God. Bring it up and give it to God. That's how we're going to get it out of our consciousness. Put it in God's hands. God is the teacher, I am not. I accept where I am in life. Do that right now. I accept where I am. I accept where life is around me. And I see God moving through even the darkness that I think I see, that I perceive. So having accepted, move into harmony. I feel in harmony with this world. In spite of its flaws and seeming injustices, I feel in harmony with this world and know that goodness will rise out of seeming injustice. Goodness will rise often from unexpected places. Now follow this sense of harmony and realize I come into harmony with my life exactly as it is. And I trust God. I'm not angry, disappointed, antagonistic about my life. I come into harmony with my life exactly as it is, and I trust God, for God is in charge. Now I get a little perspective, and I realize, particularly from here deep within, I know I am a spiritual being. And I inhabit this physical body temporarily and live this particular spiritual or earthly life temporarily. But I am and always will be a child of God, a spiritual being. And I am come into this earth to let my light shine in the darkness. So as you realize that you are that spiritual being, let your light of harmony and love and joy and your obsession on all goodness let that shine into the darkness that the world has to offer. And for those places we have particular problem with compassion. Look out at the chaos of this world and all who seem to be part of it, and say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If they knew better, they would do better. They are stuck in their human nature. And I can have compassion on that. For I am a soul. I am a spiritual being. And as such, I expect good to rise out of seeming discord in unexpected ways. And I am grateful. I am grateful. We place it all in your hands, God. And we are grateful to know that all is well. Thy will be done through each and every one of us and through the world around us. Even the evil and injustice, like Joseph, we know God means it for good. Thank you, God. Amen. The usher will come forward. We'll prepare for our offering. For those of you at home who are new, the way that you give your offering is you can either go to the home page following the service, and if you go to the home page, unityorlando.org, there's a Donate Now button, and you can use credit card or PayPal. What else we got? Oh, you could pull off our address and mail us a check if you're old school, or you can use Zelle. But if you use Zelle, you must use our email address, which is unityorlando@gmail.com. And if all of this confuses you, call the office. You can work it out with Linda. Let's take our offering in our hands and the thought of what we're going to give, if you're there at home. Let's affirm together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. Thank you, God. Amen.
Look around and see your smiling faces, big sound. I hear you singing now in this place. I feel your shining grace in this place. We can feel it now. We're moving energy and learning how to live in harmony in this town. We always shine our light in this town. This town, we always shine brighter in this town. With your grace, we always shine brighter in this place. Illuminating guidance, divine order deep inside us. The light will surely find us right here in this town. Together, and sometimes we're apart forever. We love who we are together. We bring our love out whenever. We can feel it now. We're moving energy and learning how to live in harmony in this town. We always shine our light in this town. this town, we always shine brighter in this town. With your grace, we always shine brighter in this place. Illuminating guidance, divine order deep inside us. Light will surely find us right here in this town. We can feel it now. We're moving energy and learning how to live in harmony in this town. We always shine our light in this town. In this town, we always shine brighter in this town. With your grace, we always shine brighter in this place. Illuminating guidance, divine order deep inside us. Light will surely find us right here in this town. In this town, we always shine brighter in this town. With your grace, we always shine brighter in this place. Illuminating guidance, divine order deep inside us. The light will surely find us right here in this town. Love will find us in this town. And light will guide us in this town. Love will find us in this town.
Ah, that was wonderful. And I think it was a fitting end to this service. Thank you for coming out, for being Unity Orlando. Thank you all at home for joining us. Thank you for being the ones I share this path with as I walk through this world. Where are we? Next Sunday. Next Sunday, I go back to more fun topic, but also another, probably one of my out on the outer edges one. It's called Stranger in a Strange Land. We're going to talk about your soul. And after the 11 a.m. service next week, there will be our annual meeting and potluck. Seeing as we discovered that people only come to a meeting if they can eat. Don't worry, the meeting is short. The meal is long. Okay, let's all rise and close off this service by joining together and blessing the whole world with our prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. God bless you.